What's happening, my homies? Welcome back to Max Fire Fantasy Report. I got some business for you today, so if you're ready to get downtown to Boogie Town, shoot me a like and let's get ready to get started up in here. I got some notes now. We got 2 weeks left. 2 weeks, people. It's getting down to slim pickings. I don't have a whole lot of good pickups for you this week because there just isn't any. You know what I mean? At this point in the season, though, there's always a guy or two that ends up popping. So let's get into that business. And we're going to get started here with some quarterbacks. Now, look, I hate to be that guy, but you know, when you're right, you got to be that guy. And I did tell you last week to just grab Lamar Jackson before he goes off so you don't have to waste a waiver wire pick. I'm pretty sure you didn't do it. And so now if you need a quarterback, he's the top guy you need to get. He only scored, I think, like 15 or 18 points, somewhere around there. 25 runs. Now, there was one that was a kneel down. That counts as a run. So it ended up being about 25 and not 27. But 25 rushes, over 100 yards in rushing. And he didn't even score a single touchdown. What that means is there's a lot of upside. That wasn't his best game. So I like him. Here's the other good thing. The dude's schedule is absolute cake. And we're talking about defenses that are cake against quarterbacks, which is essentially passing. But Lamar Jackson's also mostly a running back. So the defenses that he's facing are also really bad against the run. So it's just a cakewalk for him the rest of the way. He's great insurance if you have a good quarterback right now. And you just want to put another quarterback on your roster for your championship run, just in case your quarterback gets hurt. You don't have to go to the waiver wire and pick up some guy who's really not that good and hope and pray. You're going to have Lamar Jackson on your bench. So he's the top pickup for me this week, period. You know what I mean? Unless you really don't want to go with a number 2 quarterback, or unless you don't need a quarterback, then I got some other picks for you, number 1 and number 2. But I went ahead and wanted to go ahead and emphasize Lamar Jackson because the whole entire offense is going to revolve around him. He should see a lot of one-on-one coverage in the passing game since they're going to commit to stopping the run. And he's fast, man. So even when they put the people down there to stop him, they still can't stop him. So double-digit rush attempts, I told you about that. Yeah, so anyways, let's get on down to Dak Prescott. Now, Dak Prescott, I did mention him now, I think 3 weeks in a row. And so kudos to me. And, you know, he's not really a league winner. But what he is, he's a nice Band-Aid. If you're having trouble at quarterback, and let's say you can't get yourself some Lamar Jackson, well, Dak is a great substitute. He's going to have a nice high floor. His ceiling is not that high. You know, they're not going to be doing Drew Brees type stuff or Matt Ryan type stuff over there. But he's got a nice floor, so he can keep you in your game while some of your other players maybe win it for you. You could do a lot worse than Dak Prescott. So he's the number 2 quarterback. And then Jameis Winston. Now we're getting down to players you really don't want. Okay, Jameis Winston, you don't want him because if he plays a bad half, they might just pull him for Fitzpatrick again. They don't know what they're doing over there. Switching out the quarterbacks every couple of weeks is an atrocity to coaching everywhere. And they just need to pick the guy that is their best chance of winning and roll with him instead of all the politics and stuff they're trying to do there in Tampa Bay. But they're still going to have to score quite a bit. And right now, Winston is the quarterback. So if you can't get Lamar, you can't get Dak, then you're going to go for Jameis Winston. And then the guy after that, Baker Mayfield. Now, you don't want to pin your hopes on a rookie quarterback, but he's got some nice weapons. And let's face it, you already missed out on those 3 if you're picking Baker Mayfield. So I don't think I have any notes on him. You know, he's only really going to be good for a spot start. You know, hopefully, if you need to lean on him, you're probably in trouble. I wouldn't trust him for the season, but I would much rather have Dak for season long. And then, of course, like I said, Lamar Jackson's a stud. Now, let's get into wide receivers. Courtland Sutton. He looks like he's getting about 3 catches a game. And even now that Demaryius Thomas is out of there, his catches really haven't improved. But maybe it takes a little time. Either way, he's still getting you over 70 yards a game, so the yardage is there. He just needs to score a touchdown or 2, and then he'll be really relevant. So like I said, we don't have a whole lot of options here on the waiver wire at this point in the season, so we're not really giving you league winners anymore, okay? These are just people who They look good. They're good for their value. You might want to pick them up, and depending on where you're hurting at. All right, Coutee. Keke in my white tee. We need to keep him on our radar. Apparently, he's still going to keep going. The problem with him, he doesn't get the deep bombs. So he's a possession type receiver. He could go deep. They're just not using him in that way. And so, you know, he's going to be good for PPR and get you a lot of receptions and yardage. And he could let you down on that too. But he's just not scoring touchdowns. If he starts getting a couple touchdowns, you could get real excited about him. But that's what they brought Demaryius Thomas in for. So they're not moving around Coutee to Will Fuller's role. He's going to stay in the role he's been in. So expect to get more of what you've been getting from Coutee. So we can just look at that box score. What he's been getting, that's what you can expect to get. And if you want that, go ahead and pick him up. If that's not good enough for you, let him sit, because he is what he is right now. DJ Moore, I'm going to have to eat a little crow. All right, now I talked shit last week. I talked a lot of trash last week. I mocked people last week. So whenever you do that, you got to be willing to eat some crow. So I'm going to eat a little bit of crow, not too much, because I only deserve a little bit. But DJ Moore went off last week, okay, and I was laughing at him. And I'm still laughing, don't get me wrong, but when a guy blows up and you're laughing at him, you kind of got to eat a little crow. But that doesn't mean I'm going out to draft the guy or pick the guy up now, okay? The bottom line on that was there's a very game script dependent outcome. Meaning the way that game went, Cam Newton and the Panthers were down big. They had to throw a lot. Devin Funchess kept dropping everything in sight, dropped a touchdown, dropped like 6 or 7 other passes, so they had to throw to somebody else. But I don't expect that to continue. So even though I'm eating a little crow because he blew up last week, I don't expect it to continue. And if it does, I'll eat more crow later, okay? But I'm definitely not picking up DJ Moore. I want nothing to do with the wide receivers in Carolina other than Christian McCaffrey, who's the #1 wide receiver on that team right now. So, but if you're in Dynasty, you know, that's a different story. You definitely want DJ Moore. He's probably already taken in Dynasty, but if you can get him, then definitely get him. Now, I saved my #1 wide receiver so that I could reveal it to you now. It's not a surprise, okay? Tre'Quan Smith. Tre'Quan Smith is where I'm going to eat the most crow right now, because I was laughing at Tre'Quan last week too. Now, if you had him, you didn't start him, and he blew up on your bench. Now you're going to start him, and he's going to do nothing. Same as he did 3-4 weeks ago when he blew up, and a bunch of people thought he was the next big thing out there in the Saints land, and he wasn't. And so if you started him, you ate shit, right? Your team bit the dirt, and you probably benched him or dropped him, and now he goes off again. He's one of those guys. Now, if you're in Dynasty, he is a must-add, no-brainer. He's the future there in New Orleans. But for right now, we're not in the future, and I don't want to get him, but I would pick him up just to see what happens, because if he goes off again, now you've got something. And that's kind of what it is. When a guy goes off, you go ahead and grab him before the demand gets high, and then you sit on him a week or two and see if it happens again. And if it doesn't, then you still don't have anything, you just drop him, okay? It didn't cost you anything. So he's probably going to be one of the top wide receiver pickups this week. And personally, you know, if somebody picked him up in my league, if my if my competition or a competitor that week picked him up, I'd be pretty happy. And I hope he starts him so he can goose egg or dump two catches on him. See if I got any notes here for Tre'Quan. Oh yeah, so last week 0 catches, 0. The week before this blow up, he had 0 catches, 0 yards, 0 points. So, you know, the most receptions he's had all year before this one explosion was 3 catches all year. You know, now he could have a couple big games coming up, going to have some games where he scores a touchdown or 2, but he's also going to have some games where you're going to get goose eggs. You can't take the goose eggs. The big explosion is not worth the goose eggs. The losses hurt a lot more than the wins help. So you got to stay away from anybody who's goose egging. Your main thing right now should be consistency, and he's not consistent at all. I mean, that's the last word you would use to describe Tre'Quan Smith's fantasy output is consistent, and that's why you don't want him. It's not that he sucks, you know what I mean, or he can't blow up or help your team. It's just that you can't depend on him, you can't trust him because he's inconsistent, and that's where it comes down to. 13 targets and 10 receptions is quite a bit. And like I said, if that continues, he's a stud. But if it goes back to what it was the week before where he got 0s, you heard it here, man. You don't want nothing to do with him. I'm definitely not wasting a high waiver wire pick on him if it's the type of waiver wire pick that's going to last a week or two. But we're getting to the point where you can't really save your waivers. So even if a player's not going to win your league for him, it's really not that bad of a deal to go ahead and just pick him up. I mean, what do you have to lose? You can't take your fab with you. All right, so I was going into some Tre'Quan Smith, but he would be my number one because of the upside. Now, if you can't handle the volatility, then go with Sutton or Coutee. Okay, but Tre'Quan and DJ Moore, the reasons why I was mocking people last week on them is because of the consistency. Of course, they both exploded. But let's see what happens this week and next week. And then we'll come revisit that crow sandwich I'm eating. All right? And moving on down to tight ends. See if I got some tight end notes here. Jonnu Smith, he's the guy you want to get right now. Obviously, he's not a league winner. We're not having any league winners. So just because I recommend someone to you, don't go off the deep end thinking that I'm saying he's going to be good. I'm just saying he's the best available right now. So 6 catches for 44 yards. That's not bad for a deep tight end. And last week he had 3 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. So, he's there. He can keep your team alive without getting you a 0. And that's pretty much all you can ask for from a guy who's that low ranked and it's this late in the season you're pulling him off the waiver wire bench. So he's if you need he's if you're desperate, man. And a lot of people are actually desperate in tight ends. Now, while we're on that subject, Jordan Reed could be onto something now. He's been healthy the whole year, but hasn't mattered. But now they got Colt McCoy in there, and Colt McCoy was looking for him. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen here with Colt McCoy. Mark Sanchez is going to probably be the quarterback, or Colt McCoy might keep the job. Either way, Jordan Reed is worth a decent add if someone happened to drop him in your league, or if you're super desperate, you might even trade for him because his value is really low. And his owner, if he's been holding on to him this long, might not want to let him go after his first good game of the year, but give it a shot, man. You never know. You might be able to pull yourself from Jordan Reed, and he could come around the second part of the year. We know he has it in him, so the talent is there. We just need to see if he gets the targets. All right, so that's my story on the tight ends. Let's jump into some running backs, man. It's getting ugly. You know what I mean? It's getting ugly. My number one is right here, but I'm going to come back to that. Let's talk about Peyton Barber. If you're in a pinch, Peyton Barber, you could do worse. Okay, the good news is that Ronald Jones is out, so he's got no competition. The bad news is they just can't run the ball. They have a bad offensive line. But if you need running backs, he's not a bad flex. He could easily get you a touchdown or 2, maybe even get you 100 yards and keep your team afloat. He's not going to win it for you, but he could keep you floating. So that's what I got for you on our boy Barber. Now, McGuire, we don't like him because he's on a bad offense. We don't like him because Isaiah Crowell is there. But we do like him because they like him. The Jets, the management, they love McGuire, and he's a 3-down back. So if he does get the job, hey, you got yourself a 3-down back. So it's possible, especially if something happens to Crowell. Now, it's not a lot of upside there because the Jets are not a good defense or a good offense. But, like I said, we're late in the season, man. So we're grasping at straws here. Josh Adams, I told you I don't like him before, and I still don't like him. It's nothing personal, of course. The guy got 10 touches. 10 touches. Okay? 7 rushes. People last week, a lot of fantasy experts last week were telling you, Josh Adams. Get Josh Adams. He's going to be the feature back in Philadelphia. Or the week before. What was I telling you? I was telling you stay away from him. You don't want him. You don't want him. You don't want Clement. You don't want Smallwood. You don't even want Ajayi when Ajayi was healthy. You don't want anything to do with that because they don't feature the running back enough, and it's a 3-way timeshare. 10 touches. We're talking 7 rushes and 3 receptions. He did get you a touchdown, but 10 overall touches, you can't hang with that, man. I would probably rather have Peyton Barber, and that's saying a lot because I don't want Peyton Barber. So I'm not going for Josh Adams. I don't think you should either. To me, let your competitors grab him and waste a roster spot on Josh Adams. Could it bite me? Sure. We don't know much about him, but the Philadelphia Eagles, they're not running the ball enough, so their running back is really irrelevant. They could have Le'Veon Bell there, and if they're only going to give him 10 touches, I wouldn't want him. All right. Rashaad Penny, don't want him. Okay, if there was ever a week he was going to be used, it would have been last week because the week before that he did really well. His yards per rush are going up, so he's doing okay with his opportunities. The problem is he seems to be in the doghouse, man. He's not only not the top running back, he's the 3rd-string running back. And you really want a guy who needs 2 people to get hurt? You might as well go with Spencer Ware, Malcolm Brown, one of those guys. They only need 1 person to get hurt. You don't want Rashaad Penny, okay? I'm not going for Rashaad Penny. Is there a chance that all of a sudden Pete Carroll decides I like Rashaad Penny and we're going to go ahead and start him every week now and he's the new man? There's a chance, but there's a chance you win the lottery too. So I'm not trying to go for that. And then Theo Riddick. Now here's the interesting thing about Theo Riddick. He might be good this week, but next week probably not so much because it looks like Kerryon Johnson is coming back. And with Matt Patricia being the coach there, he wants to win every game. He's not going to shut down Kerryon Johnson for the rest of the year unless he has to. He's going to bring him back if he's healthy, and then he's going to play. And then again, you don't want anybody over there. You don't even want Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson's usable, but you don't really want him because he's not going to be featured in the passing game, and he's not going to get the goal line work. But now that he's out, who's going to get the ball there? You know, they've got a LeGarrette Blount, so he's going to get the short yardage goal line work. They got Zach Zenner. I think that's his name, Zach Zenner. And he's sitting there on the bench like, if you think they're not going to use that guy, I think they will now that Kerryon's out. So they need a guy. And LeGarrette Blount's not a very good running back, and Theo Riddick's not a very good running back. He's a great catching back. So they need that middle ground guy to take the majority of rushes. And so that might be Matt Asiata, or it might be Zach Zenner. I have no idea who it's going to be. Or they might feature Theo Riddick more, or they might even give LeGarrette Blount more touches. You want nothing to do with that. Now, if you need a player this week for 1 week only, you know, you can take a stab at Theo Riddick. I think he might be the one that they get featured. That's my opinion, but I don't really know. It's too much of a guessing game for me, okay? And then what's going to happen, Kerryon Johnson's going to come back, and it's going to go back to a mess again. So there's no upside. There's no season-long upside. He's not going to help you win your league if you go and pick Theo Riddick. You know, he's not going to take you to the championship. But he might be good for 1 week. And so that's pretty much it, man. Elijah McGuire, told you about him already. So, yeah, let's get to my number one guy. You already know who it is, man. I'm not trying to trick you. This is the only YouTube channel you see. So now let's talk about Gus Edwards a minute. 17 touches, 100+ yards, and a touchdown. That's pretty good. The thing is, obviously Alex Collins is still lurking there, and we don't know, is this a new thing? You know, now as far as the scouting report goes, Gus, he doesn't look like he's a shake and bake kind of guy. He's not an all-world guy. He's not like some gem that you just all of a sudden going to find a great player. But he always gets positive yards. He's the kind of guy that a team can really use. And the dynamics of using Lamar Jackson as a running quarterback help out. As we all know now, it's kind of being common knowledge that a running quarterback helps out the running game. So the running back does pretty good because the defender doesn't really know who to go for, and it slows them down just a little bit, helps the running back get a head start. So he's the number one pickup. Why? Because the upside, man, just the upside. Sure, like we're not too excited with a guy who's on a team that the quarterback gets most of the rushes, and he's also got the number one running back isn't even that guy, it's Alex Collins, right? So there's a lot of reasons not to like Gus Edwards, but there's nobody else to pick up, man. And so if you're looking for a gem who potentially, you know, could win for you, there's seems to be always at least one guy near the end of the season that nobody ever thought of that ends up being really, really good for fantasy. Maybe not good in real football, but you know, gets the stats, gets the rushes, you never saw him coming. Well, it looks like it could be Gus Edwards. It's worth a shot if you really need a guy. If you're stacked and loaded, just leave him there, you know what I mean? But if you put him on your bench and something happens, maybe this happens again next week. Maybe he's the new guy. Maybe the coach says, holy smoke, look at this dude. We need to get him the ball more. Screw Alex Collins. The bad part about Gus Edwards is he doesn't catch the ball very much. They're still going to have Ty Montgomery and Alex Collins catching the ball. So his upside is limited, but if he can just get you that 17 touches and 100+ yards and a touchdown, you're going to be pretty happy with that. So pick him up, put him on your bench. If you're in a real spot, he's the number one running back to get that you need to play over all these other guys. And there you go, man. That's the guy you need to get. So, and then I didn't even mention he's got a cake schedule. So the schedule the rest of the way for the Baltimore Ravens is absolute cake. And, you know, it's possible he's a waiver wire gem. So he's the guy you need to get. If you have Fab, I'd just spend it on him. Screw it, man. You're not going to get anybody next week anyway. And then next week's the last week, right? Actually, I mean, the playoffs, you can really use Fab too. So maybe you should hold off on that Fab a little bit. But you're not going to get Gus Edwards if you do. And like I said, I don't think he's a league winner, so I'm not tripping on it. But there's a shot. There's a shot. He helps you out quite a bit. All right? And so let's go ahead. That's pretty much all we're going to do as far as waiver wires. We'll talk defenses a little bit, and then I'm going to go over some buys, sells, and some of the people that I've been following this year we're going to talk about. So the defenses is Dallas. Number one, now that Alex Smith is gone, Washington Redskins are going to be in deep doo-doo, okay? Sure, Colt McCoy's pretty good. I mean, you know, he's not probably going to blaze anything on fire, but with him coming in and Mark Sanchez potentially taking over, Dallas Cowboys defense has been very consistent this year. Could be a sneaky play on defense. Don't waste a waiver wire spot, because as you can see, we got about 5 defenses you can use this week. So just wait till the waivers clear and then pick one of these guys up. My number 1 is Dallas. Okay, number 1 besides the Bears, of course. Number 2 is the Chargers. Chargers have Joey Bosa now, and they're facing Josh Rosen and the Cardinals. So I like that matchup. I like anybody who's facing Josh Rosen and a rookie, rookie quarterback like that. So he's a good start, good potential. Or not he. That team, that defense would be a good start. The Colts look good. Their defense has been pretty consistent, and Miami, they're a low-scoring offense. So there's not very much chance that you're going to get a negative. You're going to get any negative points out of starting this defense. Chances are you're going to get 5 to 12 points out of the Colts. And, maybe Osweiler or Tannehill or whoever, I don't even know who's starting over there anymore, throws you a pick 6 or something. So there's some upside there. Moving on down to Buffalo. Buffalo against Jacksonville. Now, here's the good thing. Buffalo's got a really good defense. Jacksonville has a really bad quarterback, and they like to run the ball. That keeps the score low. Okay, so that's how Jacksonville likes to win. They like to play defense and run the ball. It keeps all the scores low. That's good for you if you're starting a defense against them. Who knows? Maybe Buffalo gets you a touchdown. Maybe they don't get you anything. But the chances of Jacksonville exploding on your Buffalo defense and causing you problems in your fantasy team are pretty low. So I like Buffalo here. And then our last dart throw for defenses is the Patriots. The Patriots, while they don't have a whole lot of stars on defense, obviously they got Bill Belichick, and he has a good way of taking advantage of other teams. And Miami, or the Jets, they don't have a potent offense. They got a rookie quarterback, and you can best believe that Belichick has something for that booty. You know what I mean? He's definitely going to be dialing some stuff up. So if you can't get one of these guys, go ahead and get New England. Top defense, I'm saying right now, other than the Bears and the Ravens and some of the ones that are already probably taken, would be Dallas. And so adjust your rankings accordingly. But that's my story on defenses. And there we go, homies. So that's basically your waiver wire pickups. We're going to keep it going here. Go ahead and shoot a like for the homie right here on here for making this video for you, because I do it because it's fun and I enjoy the game. So support your content creators and click a like. Don't it doesn't hurt you. It ain't gonna break your finger, homie. So what else we got for you? All right, so before I get into the buys, all right, I want to self-gloss a little bit. I told you last week. I don't like that comment. I told you last week. I got to change that. Like, I did say last week that you need to get yourself some Mike Evans. He had 2 bad games in a row, and that was your chance to buy in on Mike Evans. And, while a lot of people are panicking on Mike Evans, that was your chance to buy, and now that chance is over. You should have bought Mike Evans. He's been great for your stretch run. It doesn't really matter if it's Fitzpatrick or Winston or who's throwing the ball. He's a complete elite wide receiver. You want him on your team. He would be a lock, stock, and barrel wide receiver 2. He's a wide receiver 1. If you can get him as your wide receiver 2 and just have 2 great wide receivers, let's say you have another stud at your wide receiver 1, you're going to be doing pretty good. You don't even need another wide receiver. 2 wide receivers, if they're both studs, that's all you need. And you can just stock up on running backs. Yeah, man, it's gangster when you do that. So don't stockpile wide receivers, okay? You can always go to the waiver wire and pick up a wide receiver if you get desperate, if one of your guys gets hurt. But, yeah, man. Last week was the information you needed. You needed to grab yourself some Mike Evans. Now, some other people I talked about a couple of weeks ago, people were tripping on Fournette and what was going to happen, and as if he was still injured. And I told you, there I am again. I did say he's going to be fine. That hammy is going to be nice. He rested all the way through the bye week, got an extra week, and he came back strong and ready to go. Now the chance to buy him is over. You should have bought him, could have bought him, would have bought him, but you didn't. And he was great. Hyde has no value. Also, Lindsay was in my you need to buy week comment section last week. I told you, please buy Phillip Lindsay. Now he's blown up again. It's getting harder and harder to buy players when they blow up. You got to get them when they look bad or when they've had a bad week or 2. That's the best time to buy because you're not going to pay too much for them. Certain players, it's okay to pay full price, even overpay, like Christian McCaffrey. If you could get Christian McCaffrey this week, go ahead. He only scored, I think, 10 or 15 points, somewhere like 11 points in standard and probably about 15, 16 in PPR. So he had a bad week, but the problem is that the 2 weeks before that he exploded. So the owner's probably not going to trade him for cheap. But if you can get him, I would definitely overpay for Christian McCaffrey still, even after he exploded, because the rest of the schedule was amazing, and you're not going to need your bench players, man. So package those players up, overpay, dump your bench, man, and get the best starters that you can get. AP, I said to get him. He blew up for 2 touchdowns. Now I know his upside is limited, but Chris Thompson is hurt, and they're going to be leaning on the running game now, man. Colt McCoy or Mark Sanchez in there, they're going to be leaning on Peterson like never before. So pick yourself up some Adrian Peterson. I'm not saying he's going to win your league for you. I'm saying he'd be a great flex. If you can put Adrian Peterson in your flex, it doesn't have to be your running back 2. You're not depending on him too much. He can really win it for you if he's a flex. All right. Now, going up over last week, I suggested that you sell Corey Davis off his big game. And now he pooped his pants again, so now you can't sell him. Nobody's going to want to buy him. It's kind of over. So hopefully you didn't even have him, because I wasn't on him. He's had a bad year, and I don't expect it to change. I don't think that magically Mariota all of a sudden figured it out. I don't think magically all of a sudden Vrabel learned how to get him the ball. And so maybe he has a good finish to the season, and you're not going to probably get much for him. Last week was your week to sell him. And then let's chat a little bit about Anthony Miller. I was mocking all the other fanalists in the industry who were telling you guys to grab Anthony Miller as their top waiver wire pickup. That was insane. It was craziness. And what did he get? Let's see, I got some notes here. Anthony Miller. Let's see here. 2 receptions. Okay, now he did get a touchdown, so if you started him, because you believed some fantasy analysts who told you that he was a good pickup, he might have at least saved the day with a touchdown. But 2 receptions? Look, getting 1 touchdown on 2 receptions is not a good fantasy day. And if he hadn't got that touchdown, we're talking about 1 reception. Okay, so you don't want anything to do with Anthony Miller. Same thing with Taylor Gabriel. As a matter of fact, Taylor Gabriel's even better. I like Taylor Gabriel more than Anthony Miller because he gets more targets, he gets more catches. But the touchdowns are hit and miss on that Bears team. You never know who's going to get them. I mean, they lined up their defensive tackle at wide receiver on the goal line the other day, so it's crazy. The only wide receiver really worth anything there in Chicago is Allen Robinson, who I think is a buy right now. If you can buy Allen Robinson, I would pick him up. Now, I'm not saying that you should go crazy for him, and I'm not saying he's a league winner. I don't have the same confidence in Anthony Miller or Allen Robinson as I did Mike Evans last week. Mike Evans is a league winner for you. But if you can get him cheap, or maybe in a combo deal with another player that you really want, just have him throw in Allen Robinson, you can probably get him. So, yeah, Anthony Miller, man, come on, man. And you heard it here first. I told you don't get him. Please don't get him. And everywhere else I was looking at, they were telling you that he's the #1 pickup. So, yeah, don't get him. Don't trade for him at all. I know someone who traded LaShawn McCoy for Taylor Gabriel a few weeks back. Oh, man, it's crazy how people go crazy over 1 good week, I mean, anybody can have a good week, and anybody can even have 2 good weeks. Now, if they're back-to-back, now we're talking. But 2 good weeks spread out by multiple bad weeks, why would you want that? You don't want it, All right. Wrapping this video up, homies. I know you got other videos to watch, and I got other stuff to do too, so we're going to go ahead and get down to your buys. David Johnson. Now, he's not going to surprise anybody. He's obviously been doing a lot better. The offense looks a lot better with Byron Leftwich, so you're not sneaking up on the other guy trying to buy low on David Johnson. But if you can buy him, a lot of people might be trying to sell high right now. They've had David Johnson this whole year, and maybe they're like thinking, he's finally back. And if that's what they think, you're not going to get him. But some owners are thinking, oh, cool, maybe I can trade him now. So, yeah, I like him. You can pay full price for David Johnson, but don't overpay for David Johnson. He's looking good. He's got a great schedule, but at the same time, you don't want to give up too much for him because he did have a good couple weeks already, and it's not going to be cheap to get David Johnson. It's just a guy I like. If you can get him on your team, do it. Otherwise, it's okay if you don't. Joe Mixon is a great buy right now. Why? He had a bad week, man. That's what you love. You got to love when players that you like have bad weeks because it's a chance to buy. I like Joe Mixon. I'm not saying I love him because of his schedule, and I'm not saying I love him. for any other reason than he's had a couple bad weeks, and it's a good chance to buy in on him and get him for cheap. So, moving on down, Sony, Michel, and James White, same story. Bad couple of weeks. These are even better buy lows because you can actually get a deal on these guys. Their value is much higher than it's being currently estimated. So, Sony, if you need a running back, go find the Sony Michel owner in your league and check out his roster. If he's running back desperate, he's not going to get rid of Sony Michel. But if he's got a lot of running backs, you can pull Sony Michel right now. Same thing with James White. And I already talked about Allen Robinson. He's a good buy wide receiver. I don't like to buy a lot of wide receivers for the simple fact that you can get them off the waiver wire, you know. So I don't like to spend, but I'd rather spend on running backs. And last buy right now is David Njoku. There's some risk with David Njoku. You know, they got a new head coach, and since they switched over to the new head coach, Njoku's kind of fallen off a little bit. And so I'm not sure if it's just a matter of he was injured or game script, or if it's just the coaching is leaning away from the tight end a little bit. But what hasn't changed is that he's still a freakish athlete, and the schedule is still delicious. So you got the right type of player facing the right type of players. So that's a good recipe, and he's been really bad. Of course, tight end is a wasteland right now, so you could do a lot worse than David Njoku. Go find the David Njoku owner in your league and see if you can either swap your tight end for that tight end, and or maybe pull him. You know, that's a great buy right now if you need a tight end. And that's it, dogs. I'm all done. So hope the wins are with you, and thanks for checking out the vid. And man, I'm done, man. Peace to the niece. I'll see you on the next one, man. Get yourself some of these buys, bro. You feel me? Yeah. All right. Well, doggies, I put in my work here for fantasy football. I'm done. So, I'll see you.